The first time I met Rebecca, I thought I'd found my forever. It was at a crowded art gallery opening. I was there for a friend, feeling a bit out of place. And then I saw her. She was standing by a ridiculously abstract sculpture, a small, genuine smile playing on her lips as she studied it. She had this light about her, an infectious energy that just drew you in. We started talking, and it was effortless. Hours melted away like minutes. We talked about art, travel, our dreams, our fears. By the end of the night, I was completely smitten. Our relationship was a whirlwind romance straight out of a movie. We were inseparable. We moved in together after just 6 months, which felt fast, but also completely right. Our apartment became our sanctuary, filled with laughter, late-night talks, and the smell of my amateur cooking attempts, which she always pretended to love. We adopted a golden retriever puppy, Leo, who became the furry center of our little universe. Truly believed I was the luckiest man alive. Rebecca was my partner, my best friend, my everything. I was already ring shopping, planning the perfect proposal. I had it all figured out, or so I thought. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. I came home early from work, planning to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. As I walked up to our apartment door, I heard voices from inside. A man's voice, deep and unfamiliar, followed by Rebecca's laugh. It wasn't her usual joyous laugh. This one was different, more intimate. My heart started pounding. I quietly unlocked the door and pushed it open just a crack. And there they were. Rebecca was in the arms of another man, a tall, well-dressed guy I'd never seen before. They were kissing, not just a peck, but a deep, passionate kiss that made my stomach churn. I quietly closed the door, my mind reeling. I couldn't breathe. It felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I stumbled back down the stairs in a daze and just started walking, the bag of Thai food forgotten in my hand. I walked for hours trying to process what I had just seen. Denial, anger, heartbreak, it all hit me in waves. This couldn't be happening. Not my Rebecca. Not us. When I finally went back to the apartment late that night, she was on the couch, watching TV as if nothing was wrong. The other man was gone. I confronted her, my voice shaking. At first, she denied everything, calling me crazy and paranoid. But when I described the man, the clothes he was wearing, the way they were kissing, her face changed. The denial crumbled, replaced by a cold indifference that was somehow worse than the lie. She admitted it. His name was Julian, a wealthy colleague from her new marketing firm. She said it just happened. There was no apology, no remorse. Instead, she turned it on me. She said I was boring, that our life was too predictable. She said Julian offered her excitement, a life I could never provide. Each word was a dagger. The woman I loved, the woman I was planning to marry, was a stranger. She told me she was leaving, that she had already been planning it for weeks. She packed a bag right then and there, called a cab, and left. Just like that. She didn't even say goodbye to Leo. The days that followed were a blur of pain. I felt hollowed out, a ghost in my own apartment, which was now filled with memories that tormented me. Every corner held a reminder of her, of the life we were supposed to build. I barely ate. I couldn't sleep. My work suffered. My friends tried to help, but I just pushed them away. The worst part was her complete lack of guilt. She posted pictures on social media with Julian, almost immediately fancied dinners, weekend getaways, smiling as if I never existed. She was flaunting her new life, rubbing my face in her betrayal. And that's when the heartbreak began to curdle into something else, something cold and hard, a desire for revenge. I knew I couldn't just lash out. That's not who I am. My revenge had to be calculated, precise. It had to hit her where it would hurt the most, her pride and her new perfect life. I started to do some digging. It wasn't hard. Rebecca loved to brag, and her social media was a treasure trove of information. I learned about Julian's company, his social circle, his interests. It turned out Julian wasn't just wealthy. He came from an old money family that valued reputation and tradition above all else. His parents were influential figures in the city's high society, philanthropists who chaired several major charities. They were known for their strict moral code. This was my opening. My plans started to take shape. I needed to expose Rebecca for who she truly was, not just to Julian, but to his entire world. I started by creating a detailed timeline of our relationship and her affair, complete with dates and screenshots of our texts where she professed her love for me while she was already seeing him. I also had the security camera footage from our apartment building lobby, which clearly showed Julian entering and leaving on multiple occasions while I was at work. The evidence was damning. But I knew just sending this to Julian wouldn't be enough. I discovered that Julian's family hosted an annual charity gala, a massive high-profile event that was the talk of the town every year. It was their biggest event, attended by the city's elite. It was just a few weeks away. That would be my stage. The next phase of my plan was the most difficult. I had to get an invitation. Through a friend of a friend who worked in catering, I managed to get a job working the event. It was perfect. I would be invisible, moving through the crowd, with a front row seat to the drama I was about to create. In the weeks leading up to the gala, I meticulously prepared. I compiled all the evidence, the screenshots, the video clips, the timeline into a sleek, professional-looking digital presentation. I put it on a dozen USB drives, each disguised as a fancy party favor. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was stunning, filled with chandeliers, champagne, and people dressed in their finest. I saw Rebecca across the room, clinging to Julian's arm. She looked radiant in a designer gown, laughing and mingling as if she were born into this world. The sight of her sent a pang through my chest, but I pushed it down, focusing on my mission. I moved through the room, serving drinks and appetizers, discreetly leaving the USB drives on tables, slipping them into the gift bags, and even handing a few to some of the more notorious gossip columnists I recognized in the crowd. The centerpiece of my plan was a large projector screen at the front of the room, which was being used to display a slideshow of the charity's work. I had managed to get the login details for the presentation software from a careless technician earlier in the evening. As Julian's father, a stoic and respected man, took the stage to give the main speech of the night, I made my move. I found a quiet corner with my laptop. As Mr. Thompson began his speech about integrity and community, I took a deep breath and hit enter. The slideshow of smiling children and community projects abruptly switched. My presentation flashed onto the giant screen. It started with a photo of me and Rebecca, happy and in love, with the caption "The Beginning." Then the timeline began. Text messages filled the screen, loving words from her to me, dated just days before other flirtatious ones sent to Julian. Then came the video. It's the grainy lobby footage of her kissing Julian right outside the apartment we shared. The room fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. I watched Rebecca's face. Her perfect smile vanished, replaced by a mask of pure horror. Color drained from her cheeks. Julian stared at the screen, then at her, his expression a mixture of confusion and dawning realization. His father stopped his speech mid-sentence, his face a thundercloud of fury and public humiliation. The gossip columnists were furiously typing on their phones. It was a disaster. A beautiful, perfect disaster.
Ow.
My work was done. I slipped out a side door before anyone even knew what was happening. I didn't need to see the immediate aftermath. Could imagine it. The next day, the story was all over the local society blogs. Rebecca was publicly shamed. Julian, under immense pressure from his family, broke up with her immediately. She lost her job, as the company couldn't afford the scandal. Her new, shiny life had imploded in the most public way possible. Do I feel guilty? Sometimes a small part of me does. I destroyed someone's life, but then I remember the coldness in her eyes when she admitted her betrayal, the complete lack of remorse, the way she flaunted her happiness at my expense. She showed me no mercy, so I showed her none. It was a cold revenge, and it may not have healed the wound in my heart, but it cauterized it. It allowed me to close that chapter and finally start moving on. Sometimes the only way to get over the fire is to fight it with ice. Today, my life is peaceful. It's just me and Leo, and we're doing okay. I'm starting to feel like myself again, and I know that one day I'll find a love that is real, a love built on honesty and respect. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been through something similar, know that it gets better. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.